Salute Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Welcome in to another live stream as the off-season continues. Summer League is in the rear view now, and all eyes turn towards training camp and the rest of free agency as things are winding down well and truly. But things are always buzzing with us in the Mecca. And tonight we've got an action-packed show. We're going to go through a lot of things, the latest with the situation of the Knicks point guard battle as well. The center hunt. How is Leon Rose going to finalize this roster? I'm going to go through my power rankings revealed as well. No spoilers, but it's already on the screen and we're going to go through it and we're going to chop up the latest power rankings from all the other media outlets here with the best chat in the biz. Salute, guys, salute. Hope you're doing well. And I'm glad to be with you for another live stream tonight. Lots to talk about. Right, we'll squeeze in a little bit of Team USA talk as well later in the show. Scott Perry, a former Knicks GM, spoke on some comparisons to the Detroit 04 Pistons as well. And we had some updates from Rokas as I'll recap Summer League tonight and go through the latest as well as I thought about some grades that I gave out, and I want to elaborate a little bit more and preview, I guess, training camp, what's to come with our rookies, right? It was a successful Summer League for me. And I welcome in Will, Buzzer Beater, Johnny, Python Nick. What's up, guys? Anyone joining us that's new, welcome in. Glad to have you with us. Like and subscribe to the channel. We do multiple live streams a week. We keep things buzzing here as well. No clickbait. Just great conversations with the chat. I interact with the chat and we shout you guys out as well. But I hope you've had a blessed start to the week so far. As I said, Summer League is in the rear view, guys. And, you know, there were some real standout performers. Obviously, it was a success to see our guys in action, but Tyler Kolek was the clear standout. But tonight I want to talk a little bit more about Pacome Dadiet because, you know, I was thinking about it yesterday and I thought my expectations weren't very high coming into Summer League for Dadiet, but it was more, you know, some flashes that he showed off ball that's kind of got me, you know, really, you know, still optimistic about his role with the Knicks in the future as well. And I'll share those thoughts as well. But yeah, Kolek was a joy to watch, you know, setting guys up as well. And that has ignited a lot of conversations now after Ian Begley, right, dropped some news, right? And we'll start there first because, you know, it probably is the biggest topic going around in Knicks land. As we had a competitor, Philly, sign Reggie Jackson to a veterans minimum. That increases their depth, but I don't think, you know, that is anything really to fear or, you know, really go into too deep. But I'll talk about it in my power rankings, obviously. Mikal Bridges has switched up his numbers early. Initially chose number 1, and now he's back to 25 as well. So he apologized for anyone that copped number 1. But hey, it's a collector's item now if you do have number 1. And shout out to Mikal. Continuing the run with the 25 number as well. But as everyone else is just joining in, welcome in, guys. Salute, smash that like button. And basically what happened after Summer League is, you know, Ian Begley initially did a show, I think a segment, you know, previewing the point guard position and campaign acquisition. And he initially, he felt, in his opinion, that campaign was going to be a bigger factor in the season, you know, in terms of the point guard structure ahead of Tyler Kolek, right? Obviously, we saw Summer League, that went and gone. I don't think that had a huge part to play in this new update. However, you know, sources within the organization, you know, did convey to Begley that, you know, as it sits, most people expect Tyler Kolek to get a first opportunity ahead of campaign. That's very similar to what I was saying, you know, earlier before that news broke, right after Summer League, in the post game against Atlanta. And that was, talking about the contract situation, you know, basically Tyler Kolek is a 23-year-old rookie. And when the Knicks selected Kolek, it was with the, intention to give him, a big opportunity to play minutes, right? You know, some people might disagree, and, some people did come at Ian Begley, which I think was way out of line, but, he's just the messenger. But basically, whether you agree or disagree, Campaign is a 1-year veteran, right, who's here for insurance, and I love the pickup. I said it was a B, with an opportunity to become better than that in terms of my grade. But you don't draft a 23-year-old rookie without an intention to try to give him an opportunity to play, right? You're going to wait till he's 25, right? When you're 23, you're 23, and multiple years in college, right? And yes, you can become more, acclimated to the pro game, but yet, you ain't going to jump off the page, anymore, after you're 23. You are what you are, and he is a steady point guard. And yeah, I wasn't surprised that the Knicks would potentially give him an opportunity ahead of Campaign. Like, for me, it's kind of like, Deuce and Brunson, right? They're the guys that are going to get the bulk of those minutes, as we look at the roster. And shout out to you guys. We'll go through my power rankings tonight and go through the latest. But yeah, Deuce McBride, he's going to be the first lead guard off the bench together with Dante. And, minutes might be scarce early, but Kolek has definitely looked like a guy in Summer League that's ready for NBA minutes. Cameron Payne has playoff experience, and that is a huge value as well. I get that. But yeah, as I said, I don't think you draft a 23-year-old point guard, with the ability to, to bury him, with the intention to bury him on the bench in terms of putting a third string point guard ahead of him. Campaign. Let's not forget the Campaign signing happened after drafting Tyler Kolek as well. He's got a great relationship with Mikal Bridges. It was a veterans minimum deal, and it's only 1 year. So, could Campaign factor into this season? Most likely due to injury. But at the trade deadline, if Kolek's looking quite nice and ready to go, and everyone else is healthy, then I could see, Campaign being, a guy that people reach out to the Knicks, maybe at the trade deadline, if a team, loses a point guard and all of that. So also there was a misconception that, Thibs don't play rookies, right? Yes, Kolek's 23, but he'll be a rookie, right? So that was an argument made by some people, and Campaign brings that experience as well. and certainly Thibs has played some rookies in the past if your game is more ready, right? Quentin Grimes did earn minutes early, Quickly did, Deuce and Sims got some spot minutes as well. So, look, coaches can evolve, but, it's not like Thibs hasn't played some rookies. You are third string still. Tyler Kolek's not coming in, from the get-go, and is the backup immediately, right? He is going to be third string still more than likely, but once again, no surprise if he is ahead of Campaign in the order too. We're going to go through again later tonight. 04 Pistons. Scott Perry draws some comparisons. Right, one of the guys that put that team together. Right, former GM of the Knicks as well. Look forward to breaking that down with you all. And Scott Perry, I've made that comparison before as well, so that's why I'm excited to talk about it. But let's shout some of you guys out. Johnny says, "What's good? What's happening?" Right, lots happening, and an action-packed show tonight. Glad you can be with us as well. Ma Knows is in the building. Ed, Chef, Richard, what's up, guys? Donald, let's get into it, to the next topic, right? We talked about the point guard situation. We'll talk about it throughout tonight's show as well, if it gets brought up in the chat. But yeah, no surprise if Kolek, is intending to be ahead of Campaign. Again, you don't draft a 23-year-old with the intention to stash him. He is more mature, and unlike most rookies, a lot of seasoning in college as well. But without further ado, right, the main topic of tonight's show is the power rankings, right? My power rankings revealed right now July 23, right? Off season, still buzzing, but free agency well and truly pretty much died down now, right? A lot of teams have made some moves. Let me know if you agree, disagree. We'll shout you guys out like we do as well. But respect to the reigning champions. They're coming in at number 1, still Boston. But number 2, in my opinion right now, after the Knicks moves, the New York Knicks, in my power rankings, move up to number 2 in the league, right? Now, obviously, I'm wearing orange and blue glasses, but I'm also objective as well. You guys know me. However, Oklahoma, I did think long and hard about it because Oklahoma made a lot of moves. Obviously they stole Isaiah from us, but they added Caruso, and added some other pieces as well. But obviously they, finished with a heck of a season, and I do think they're coming. So that'll be a nice battle. If Oklahoma get out of the West and New York Knicks can get out of the East, I think that'll be a crazy NBA Finals. Probably a flip of a coin as well. But the reason I got the Knicks in at number 2 ahead of the Oklahoma City Thunder is I honestly believe from top to bottom that the New York Knicks are just deeper, right? As I pull up the roster right now, this was the first real debate that I had to go through with these new power rankings, right? Yes, we've got a hole at center, and I fully expect Leon to, address that, right, to a satisfactory way. But right now we have, 2 All-Stars, and Julius Randle is a 3-time All-Star. Jalen Brunson, All-Star, top 5 MVP, right? If you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, how many players on their roster are 2-time All-Stars, and how many All-Stars do they have on their roster to begin with, right? You bring in Mikal Bridges now, you brought OG Anunoby back, and the other reason is the bench, right? You got quality of the likes of Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart, 2 guys who've proven that they can be NBA starters on a playoff team, on a deep playoff team as well. So when I go back to the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're a great team, they're deep, but I honestly think that the New York Knicks are that little bit deeper from where we sit, to 2 All-Stars in the starting unit, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, right? It don't get much more elite in terms of role players for that. But look, Oklahoma's, they're stacked. When you're looking at Isaiah, then they're looking at Jay Will, they're looking at SGA, Caruso, and the rest of their team. It's deep, right? And I could really see Oklahoma coming out of the West. I think they are my favorite to come out of the West right now. And then respect to Dallas. They brought in Klay Thompson, brought in Quentin Grimes, our guy. They also brought in Najee Marshall as well, and they've lost Derek Jones, and they've lost Josh Green as well. But they've made some nice pickups as well. So NBA finalist, got to respect Dallas coming in at number 4, and then you got Minnesota and Dallas. They'll be duking it out in the West too. Then Philly coming in at number 7, right? Paul George, they added Martin, Eric Gordon, also Reggie Jackson, which we just mentioned before as well. That was a nice little pickup for them. They lose Tobias Harris, they lose Campaign, etc. But there's no doubt they've had the second, third best off season as Philly, man. I look forward to knocking them off once again too. But they're coming in at number 7. Indiana at 8. Phoenix still got all the talent there, but I don't think they're gonna get close to winning a chip. But they are, pretty heavy. They've got Ryan Dunn now, and they've added some solid pieces. And then Milwaukee, Orlando. I think that is a flip of a coin. I could easily see Orlando, surpassing Milwaukee for the season. And then New Orleans added DeJounte Murray, right? Had a really, really good offseason. Injuries to Zion, though, will factor in with that said. And then you got Sacramento and Cleveland. Sacramento did add DeMar DeRozan. I think that was a really solid add. We'll see how that plays out. They lost Harrison Barnes, obviously, to the Spurs as well. Cleveland bringing back Spider Mitchell. but didn't really add anything noteworthy outside of that. Their own free agents. They added Jalen Tyson in the draft, which I really, really like that pickup too. And then Memphis, it's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde. Ja Morant returning. How healthy will they be? And I do think the Rockets are on the come up. And then that's where we start to get to teams that are on the fringe of the play-in. The Lakers, Clippers, lost PG. I think the Miami Heat are clearly regressing. Jimmy Butler's health, age, they haven't really added a standout talent as well. So, what's up, guys? Richard, salute. Bricks Nation is in the building. Brick says Boston, Denver, Mini, and then the Knicks at 4, and you've got Oklahoma at 5. That's a good one. That's nice. And we're going to go through the next, the media outlets, power rankings right now. Julian says, yeah, they got Clay washed Grimes, my guy. He got to overcome those stressful situations. Yep. Richard at Knicks Fits says, if we're fortunate enough to make the finals, I hope it's not OKC we face. I don't want to hate iHeart, but I will, damn it. Yeah, absolutely. I think you gotta put them as the favorites out west. I mean, they're an incredible team. But like I said just before, guys, I do think the Knicks are deeper. And it required a lot of thinking. I did go through it. I looked at the rosters and everything, but the tipping point for me, right? The main tipping point was Dante and Hart and Deuce McBride coming off the bench, right? Starting 5, it's like apples and apples. It's both absolutely loaded. But I said I give the edge to the Knicks because they got 2 All-Stars in the starting 5, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe Oklahoma have 2 established All-Stars yet. Yes, SGA is a superstar, and J-Dub is on the come-up, but let me know when they have 2 established All-Stars in the starting unit. And then the second thing is the bench, right? Dante DiVincenzo could easily start for 25 to 30 NBA franchises, right? 30, I'll say. Dante could start for every single NBA franchise, and he's coming off our bench, right? And then, of course, Josh Hart, who's probably the best role player in the NBA as well. So I give the edge to the Knicks starting unit, and I give the edge to the Knicks bench when I'm looking at Oklahoma. And yes, SGA is a superstar, but I mean, you stack Brunson next to him, and at the very least, they cancel each other out, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at with that, guys. Chef says Thibs and his staff must extend the rotation and find minutes. Too much talent to have serviceable players not see the floor, or only situational roles. Built an actual full roster. Great points, Chef, and I'll talk about that more as well in the next segment. Georgie, salute. What's good with you? I'm well, thanks. Glad everyone could join us. Salute Replay Squad. Appreciate you guys as always. Smash that like button. We've got the New York streets buzzing. Again, give me your observations. These are my power rankings, right? I worked on it last night. Free agency's pretty much died down now, right? I don't see any other major move happening unless it's maybe Brandon Ingram, unless it's, dare I say, the New York Knicks pulling a bigger trade off, which won't really move our standings anyway. I think we are legit title contenders right now. Richard said, I hate to say, but I feel 2 and 4 are all interchangeable. Yep, most definitely. Dirty says, are those Vegas rankings? Just my power rankings at the minute. Your best bet says Knicks fans are overrating iHeart. He played great with much of his success due to the Thibs system. Don't underestimate the impact or the addition of Bridges and the return of Randle. Yep, you said it. I agree with you. I think Isaiah was an excellent piece for us in our system, and he'll be excellent for Oklahoma. But I don't think, the fact that we have a quality starting 5 in Mitch, obviously there's the health concerns, but on the basis that he's healthy On his best day, he's better than Isaiah, when he's healthy as well, as a rim protector and a defender as well. Sherwin's with us, and Paula, salute. El Tango, let's go. Give me observations, right? NBA power rankings, these are mine as of July 23. We'll talk about USA basketball a little bit later, but LeBron and AD are probably have been two of them among the best teams for Team USA. So the Lakers, that's not a knock on LeBron or AD. I just don't think they've done enough, and their roster is screwed right now. You've got some decent young talent. Austin Reeves, they brought back D'Lo. I just see the Rockets passing the Lakers. I think the Lakers could still be better than the Clippers, but that's all up to the health of Kawhi. I could easily slide Cleveland down as the season begins, right? Donovan Mitchell, right? Literally the franchise rests on his back, in my opinion. I think the Kings are poised to probably have, a better season. You bring in DeMar DeRozan, that'll ease a lot of the scoring burden. De'Aaron Fox is coming into his prime, right? It's go time for the Sacramento Kings. Probably my biggest slider is Miami. Jimmy's another year older. Khalil Ware won the Summer League MVP. He looks great. But what else did they do? They lost Martin. They didn't really add anything else, right? So it's just the same old Heat for me. And they can never stay healthy throughout the regular season as well. I was inclined to put Phoenix a little lower, but then I sort of thought, look, experience. Magic has still got to prove it to us. Also, the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Questions over them, in my opinion. I could easily see New Orleans climb up a little bit more. How does DeJounte fit with the rest of them? El Tango, I haven't heard any trade about Randle for Jaren Jackson. I haven't heard that. In terms of Memphis, I don't think a Randle trade is in the pipe, based on what's been out there. I think the Knicks are committed to bringing it into the season, but of course, man, August, we're shifting into August now, and also we know that is when Julius Randle is contract extension eligible as well. So we'll know a lot before the season begins, but I think the Knicks are fairly committed to bringing this team into the season, see how things look too. A huge shake-up would be very risky, I think, where we sit right now. And I honestly believe we're the best team we've been since 1999, right? There is some flaws in the roster, but right now, we haven't been in this position in more than 2 decades. And I think we're easily the top 4 best teams in the NBA in terms of roster by roster. And this is where we sit. I've got the New York Knicks coming in at number 2, surging up the power rankings. Fam. Dirty Dancer agrees with my comment before about true top 5 bench and starting lineup is why we're in a top 3 team. Yep. I just think some people still are coming to grips with the fact that you add Mikal Bridges, OG's back for a full season, and also Julius Randle returns as well, right? I mean, no other team in the league has made that kind of is going to come into the next season with that level of an upgrade, and of course, what happens if Jalen Brunson returns as a better player as well, fully committed to winning the chip now, took his deal, got another Villanova brother. I think the vibes are just going to be immaculate times 1,000 for this season. Julius, I've seen some footage of him working out in Italy. I think he's going to come back with a huge chip as well. And, I think the expectations of Randle, in terms of what he can provide versus what he needs to provide, I think there's a difference coming into this season, because Randle, going back to before Brunson arrived, obviously his role is, his expectations and burden on the team has changed, right? He had to be the leading scorer for most of his tenure with the New York Knicks. Now, on any given night, Julius Randle can be the third leading scorer, and the New York Knicks can still sweep teams. I think aside, defense, offense, all of those things as well. The biggest thing I hope Randle is working on is his three-point shot, because if he's playing a lot more minutes as a floor spacer, playing some small ball five, and if Julius's three-point shot returns from the 22-23 season, look out. I think that is going to be that is really going to help take this team to the next level. Dirty Dancer also got the same 7 in order, just swapping Milwaukee for Indy. Okay, great. So Milwaukee with Indy. Yep. I see that Indy hate coming through, but also, Milwaukee could make a little bit of a climb. I could honestly put Phoenix a little lower to, Kevin Durant coming off Team USA. How is he going to look as well? Big Deuce is in the building. What's up? Isaiah benefited from broken plays on the Knicks. The Thunder would need to run plays through and for him to truly justify the bag they gave. He's a good center, but lack polish and post moves. I think he's, a really good pickup for Thunder. Obviously one of the best free agents they've ever landed. And they deserve credit. Well, they'll be feeling good about it. But I'm not feeling that down about losing Isaiah. I think, he maximized his opportunities with the New York Knicks, and a healthy Mitch just steps in, and we don't miss a beat. There is a lot of speculation about Julius Randle and his future. We've talked about it at length because of the contract situation. But right now, he hasn't played most of last season. The roster's changed. The roster's changed a lot, and that's where expectations, I think, have adjusted for me anyway. I don't know about you guys, but I just said before, Julius Randle can give me 18 and 7, right? And I think this team will be good enough to coast to the first or second seed. But of course, it's all going to be about the playoffs, So I've seen some talk that, you can't you win a championship with this current team and Randle specifically. I strongly feel like the New York Knicks can make the NBA Finals, because I think all the versions of the Knicks team that we saw in the past with Randle, I don't think should be a catalyst to make that kind of statement. I think based on adding a Mikal Bridges and a full season of OG, and of course MVP level Brunson, I mean, what do you really expect Randle to do? He doesn't have to be a 30 and 10 guy every night. I mean, the starting five is absolutely loaded now, and his touches aren't going to be as high as well. What's up, Michael? Salute. We here. CT Power Rankings, Boston, Knicks, the Sixers, and Orlando. Hey, I respect that Orlando one, that they're coming. They did lose Joe Ingles. They did add, though, KCP. So that's an incredible pickup for them. So now let's open up the media power rankings right now. And we'll go through it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're rocking with the best chat in the biz. We'll shout you out. Real Knicks talk with this one. Shout out to our guys Divine, Sharp Hours as well on their grind, and dropping great Knicks content. Now, let's start with ESPN and where they have the New York Knicks. So they're very similar. Boston Celtics, number 1. Oklahoma, number 2. Okay, so they've gone through their justifications. Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, Nikola Topic, and Dylan Jones, right? Sending out Josh Giddey. Number 3, Minnesota. So they're 5 on my board, 3 on ESPN's. Coming in at number 4, your New York Knicks. Notable additions, Bridges, Dadiet, and the departures as well. It's been a huge month for the Knicks, who re-signed OG, traded for McCall, and signed JB. Re-signed JB. What is yet to be resolved is what New York will do at the backup center after losing Ihart. Coach Tom Thibs values rim protection, and now New York has a significant hole to build behind Mitch and his extensive injury history at the 5 spot. So that is Tim Bontemps got the New York Knicks at number 4. So I don't disagree with it strongly, but I think we can be ahead of Minnesota, definitely, who's got Minnesota at 3. And then obviously the Thunder as well, who he's got ahead of the New York Knicks. What do you guys think about that? Prezi, what's up? Salute, Nick Yak. And Jay from Puerto Rico in the building. And JJ47K. Says, without Randle, the Knicks would drop a lot in the power rankings, especially if they traded him for a role player and a backup center, like some fans suggest. Yeah, that last point that you said, a recency bias, it's always a major thing. And Knicks fans, everyone saw a whole season basically, or the core of a season in the postseason without Julius Randle. And then some people forget, or they choose to forget, I think, what Randle can do, and I think his role on this team will change, and it'll change for the better in terms of less reliance, on him. So that's ESPN. And then they've got Dallas. They've got the Knicks ahead of an NBA finalists. So that speaks to the level that we have climbed, fam, with the New York Knicks ahead of Dallas. So that's Tim Bontemps on that one. McMahon's got them. And then they've got Philly at 6. So major ESPN news outlet obviously got the New York Knicks above Philly now, and Paul George and his health, right? Next up, let's go to CBS. And these are all very current power rankings, fam. These have all dropped in like the last week, in case you're wondering. So CBS, infamously grading Emmanuel Quickley as a D+, and some other bad takes. But CBS have got the New York Knicks coming in at number 3. Fam, moving up 3 spots, right? Projected win record, I think, that was our current record, 50 and 32, right? They say adding Bridges and re-signing OG takes this team to the top tier of potential Boston beaters, right? The Knicks can credibly line up against the Celtics' perimeter attack on both ends, and Brunson is an MVP level star whose offensive clarity has not been compromised. So I like that. Let's go Knicks. CBS got the New York Knicks coming in at number 3. Salute Kelvinator joining us from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's buzzing right now. I'm rooting for you guys in the Olympics. Obviously tough group though. Tough group against the USA, South Sudan, and also who's the other team in that group? Puerto Rico, South Sudan, USA, and it's on the tip of my tongue. You guys will let me know. But yeah, tough group with that one. But yeah, we'll talk a bit about the Olympics coming up. So that is CBS. Got us at number 3. So nothing below 3. Nothing below 4 on that instance. However, we get to The Athletic, ladies and gentlemen. And I think they just hit me with the paywall. Right, it was available before. Yep, here we go. So they've got tier 1, the contenders. They've got Boston, the Thunder, the Mavs, and the T-Wolves. And then the Nuggets at 5 as true contenders. And then they've got the New York Knicks on top of tier 2 on the brink of contention. So, ranked at number 6. So that's interesting. Obviously, there are some questions over the Knicks, but, I think that's too low. Brink of contention, what's the difference? Brink of contention versus contention. Like, what did the Nuggets show? As we'll move to the New York Post, next up, they've got Boston number 1, and then they got the Thunder number 2, the Nuggets number 3. Interestingly, they lose KCP, but they're still in number 3. I strongly disagree with that one. And then they've got the New York Knicks at number 4. So this is Zach Brazilla of the New York Post, right? Number 4 coming in. So most outlets have the New York Knicks at number 4, guys, which is, not something that you can disagree with. I think whether it's 2, 3, 4, I think it really is, open for discussion with that. And that's what we're here to do, guys. Let us know if you agree or disagree with my power rankings, but Knicks or other. But I think number 2. I think we're arguably the deepest team in the NBA. Probably could give it to the Knicks. I know there's another move in us. I really do think we're going to bring in a backup center, or slightly alter the rotation a little. But if you look at Boston, right, very strong bench, still, but with the likes of Peyton Pritchard, Hauser, all of that, is that to the level of Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Deuce McBride? And then obviously there's a little bit of a hole. So, pound for pound, I think the New York Knicks, a case can be made that we are deeper than Boston in terms of the best 9 players, best 8 players. And that's my opinion on that. So, yeah, I really think that the New York Knicks roster is our depth of our roster is the biggest strength. Brunson can, lower his usage a little, not run him into the ground, like you guys said before. Buzzer says the Knicks and Pels should not even be in the same sentence. Agree. Amen. With that, D. Danny, salute. Serbia, yes, thank you. That's a tough group. Really tough group with that one. Jay for Puerto Rico says, I would only trade Randle if it's for a top center. And that's, I don't think Leon Rose would do anything else other than that, really. Or obviously if Randle and him and the Knicks just couldn't come to an extension agreement, I don't think that would be a reflection of Randle's game or how they think about winning with Randle. I think it's really about finances at this stage. But like I said, guys, Brunson can average like less points, less shots. Mikal Bridges is now here. He's an upgrade over DiVincenzo on terms of both sides of the floor. But then you bring DiVincenzo's game to the bench, which is going to be incredible. He should be a lock for 6-man, provided that he stays as 6-man and doesn't get disqualified for games starting. But look at that, man. I'll look at the odds, but Devo as a 6-man is a great shout, right? I think him and Josh Hart might go head to head with that one. But obviously Precious, right? So we've talked about the power rankings now and the situation at point guard spot, right? I'm really happy to see that Tyler Kolek is going to get consideration as the 3rd string lead guard off the bench, coming in ahead of Campaign, which is reported by Ian Begley. Campaign obviously is a great insurance policy as well. I'm glad that we picked him up. But in terms of after summarizing the Summer League, right, there has been a lot more buzz about that, right? And now Rokas, we have heard the word that Rokas is looking like he's going to sign with a team in Israel as well. So I've offered my thoughts on that. I do think that the time is just not right for Rokas. The roster is stacked. There's no minutes for him. I think he's deserving of being on an NBA roster. I just think wrong place, wrong time, right now. But it's only a good reason for us because we don't need Rokas, and I like his game. But trade him, trade his rights to a team because we've got Payne, Kolek, Deuce, and we're in a embarrassment of riches with that situation. So that is the latest with Rokas, guys. it's looking highly unlikely that he'll ever play for the New York Knicks again. I think he's headed to Israel, and then he's probably, going to earn a bag, and then maybe look to be traded throughout the season. The Knicks will look to upgrade the backup center position, and he's a big trade chip. So it was kind of a good move for us, bring him into Summer League, showcase that he can do some things, and then I think send him, to a team that's interested. I think package maybe him, Sims, Diop, and just shore up that backup center position, right? So we continue to wait. I think as every day goes by, it's more likely, I feel, that Precious will, be signed, whether, signed and traded or not. But I would lean towards signed to stay with the Knicks, in my opinion. I do think he offers a lot of value at the 4 and potential 5, is interchangeable. I do think Thibs and that, they do, really like what Precious provided on the Knicks. So that is where I'm leaning right now, guys. What are your thoughts? Do you think Precious stays, or he's signed and traded for the backup spot? Yeah, JJ47K says Rokas will never play for the Knicks. LOL. Al Tango says Boston's bench cannot touch our bench. Yep, I agree with that one. I think the fact that our starting unit got stronger only means that our bench unit got a heck of a lot stronger too. Buzzer says, I'm so happy Rokas came to the Summer League and balled out, by the way. So shout out to him. We all know what he can offer now, and finally let him go. Yeah, just wrong place, wrong time for him. But yeah, did some nice things, but didn't scream like, you must sign me, you must play me, you're a championship contender, right? Did he have a nice Summer League? Yes, absolutely. But yeah, again, where we're at right now, I'm comfortable. I think the New York Knicks are comfortable with Cameron Payne and Tyler Kolek as, third, fourth strings, with either able to play next to Deuce, because, Deuce can guard twos as well. So that gives us a heck of a lot of versatility. But the next thing I wanted to address is, the recap of Summer League, Pacome Dadiet specifically, guys, because I did give out those grades, and those were, right after the final post game, after we beat the Atlanta Hawks, as well, as we talked about some of the standouts and we recapped it all as well. If you want to catch up on Summer League, go check those post games out. I think Ariel Hukporti was the second biggest positive for me out of Summer League. That's real, because Rokas might, never come. And so Ariel was the second best, I think, positive thing that could affect the Knicks in the future. But obviously Tyler Kolek was number one in terms of, showcasing what he could do. And we gave him an A-. So we also saw what he could provide, like Buzzer said. We saw Rokas. We also saw Kolek. And there was some defensive challenges, but there was also, the passing and how real that was, right? I mean, there's a whole compilation of his passes, and that one's the most flashiest. But obviously, put him in a pro setting and playing with real pro guys, I think he's going to average more than 7 assists, right, if he's playing the same amount of minutes. So best takeaway was Kolek's performance. The second one was Ariel Hukporti. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Kevin McCullough, and we continue to wait to see what happens with him. I do think there's no rush. You can offer him the two-way after training camp. You can offer him an Exhibit 10, and then you can just, you can just switch it up. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about Pacome Dadiet, because this season, right, it's going to be a case of, we're not going to see a lot of him, right, outside of Westchester. But there was a lot of things that I think really translated with Dadiet for the future. And this is my 3-step plan for Pacome Dadiet, specifically when we're talking about, the first round draft pick for the New York Knicks. I gave him a C minus because obviously it was underwhelming on ball, but there was a lot of positives to take from Dadiet playing off ball and looking like a more ready-made NBA defender. Now, there was a great chase down block in the last game, and there was also, his cutting and off-ball movement, which was, fantastic, I think. So I think that's really going to translate to the NBA. Now, when he comes to the NBA and he gets his opportunities, he's not really going to be on ball. He's not going to be, required to be creating for us early. So I think the first step of his career should be a nice off-ball player, and be a wing defender. With that said, I do think, Dadiet looked more ready as a defender too. Real length, real size, and the ability to cut in a timely way. So, I'm still cautiously optimistic. My step for plan, step one for his plan would be first season, right? Just play in the G League, right? Obviously, this has been talked about a lot, but get all your mistakes out of the way, put up all the shots you can, grow as into your body, mature, get physical, get stronger, all of those things, and then continue to get those reps up, right? The second year, I would expect Pacome Dadiet to be in a situation where he could compete for situational minutes, potentially, right? As in be a little bit more seasoned, be stronger, if his defense continues to develop, throw you out there as a wing defender. I think that's realistic in his second season, right? Based off the flashes I saw, I think he could be a hell of a defender early on, and also with his length and his size, the chase down block was really eye opening for me when I went back and watched some film, and also his ability to stay in front of guys, I think was really key as well. Dirty says, let's just pretend that Dadiet and McCullough are 25 picks, yet since we are so lean next year in the draft. Yep. I think that's the Knicks approach as well, which is good. They did swing high on him, but I think he could be known as a wing defender in the league until the on-ball stuff becomes real. Right now, to me, he's a Cam Johnson, or he's a Mikal Bridges, early in his career. Just defend, cut off ball, and be solid. And Jay says once Dadiet starts to knock down those shots, he's going to be good. Definitely, and that's why I wanted to address this again now. I watched more film, and now that Summer League's in the rear view, I thought, he is outside of Skapinsev, obviously he was not yet on a roster spot, but he is clearly the third best, spark of Summer League. It was an underwhelming Summer League, but there was signs, there was flashes of him being, a real defender in the NBA, which is good. We're not known, we always, in the past we focus on guys that we drafted to be really offensively minded. Now it's good to see a prospect who has offensive upside, big time, but is more ready to defend, I think, right now, and just be that off-ball player, I think, which is fine. And if we look at our roster, like, let's say all this season is G League, next year, season 2 for Dadiet, it's going to be a case of, playing off-ball. There isn't enough reps to basically be on ball with all of these other guys, that need to eat. So I think it could be a really, really good fit. And there you see one of his great cuts as well that gets to the bucket and just be a play finisher too. So that is my thoughts on, Pacome Dadiet. So Randall's back with CAA. He is. Pete in the building. What's up? Georgie says if they put Pacome to train with OG, he's going to be a great addition to this team. That's a great point. Look at the wings that he's going to learn from. It's going to be stacked. Hart, we talked about McCullough as well. Hopefully we get some news on him, and hopefully his health checks out, because I do like McCullough as a prospect too. He is more ready to defend as well at the NBA level. But yeah, expectations for Dadiet aren't high, and he can exceed those expectations easily because he can defend. And like Jay said, if he knocks down the shot, that is going to be really something to help us out, I think, in the future. So as we're rocking out with the best chat in the biz, smash that like button. We've all got the Knicks streets buzzing. Next up on the Summer League recap, right, is the point guard situation, and then I've got Deuce. So a lot of people feel like Deuce is expendable in a bigger trade to bring in that center. Based on what we've heard from Ian Begley, the Knicks, that's not a priority for them. They're not going to move Deuce, in a deal for a fringe center, fringe starter, or backup. That's just not a smart move, in my opinion. Deuce has got 2 more years on a really good contract. We're trying to win a championship right now. I think there are other ways to bring in another center, right? Are they going to be a really good center like Walker Kessler? Most likely not. But when you've got the rights to Rokas, you've got some pick swaps, you've got Bates-Diop, you've got Sims. If you want to trade McCullough, you can, because you haven't signed him yet. There's options, and then there's Precious, obviously, in the sign and trade too. So for me, as of this day still, it's a no-go for Deuce McBride. Deuce stays, and he's too valuable for me to sacrifice. But what do you guys say? Dirty Dancer says, I was actually impressed with Dadiet. Wasn't pressing, looked willing to play his role. Yep. And a low ego. Yeah, I think that's going to fit in really well, most definitely. With Deuce McBride, I'm glad to hear that the New York Knicks aren't going to do anything with him. So that is a huge positive. Now, next up, we're going to talk about the free agencies that still remain, right? And by the way, we did talk about Rokas. Another quick word on him first before we move to the free agents available. But like Dirty Dancer said, I'm glad that we got to see a better look at Rokas. It's clearly going to benefit us whether we trade him or we can make a more informed decision on his future. So that is great that we brought him over as well, right? He's not in the Knicks' long-term plans by the sound of it, and he's about to sign another deal overseas too. But yeah, like some people, I ain't mad at it. Like I don't have any, personal feelings towards Rokas, because I don't think the Knicks ever opened the door for him to come, whether that's give him a contract or said come over. I think there's never been any minutes available. I know some people want him to come over and compete for minutes, but if the Knicks don't offer him a contract, it's going to be hard to do that. So he continues his career overseas. He's still only 23 as well. Before we move on to the Scott Perry quotes about the 04 Pistons, right, let's talk about the remaining free agents on the board, right? And can the Knicks get a cheaper option as a backup, right? So this is Brett Siegel. Point guards, Tyus Jones, still out there. Unbelievable. Markel Fultz, buzzer beaters guy, is still out there too, right? A lot of these guys could probably be had for the exception, right? Because money's dried up in a major way. You got Patty Mills, Dennis Smith, and Malachi Flynn, right? So we're good at the point guard spot. Shooting guard. A lot of people have talked about Luke Kennard. Could you guys see a need for another wing shooter, scorer, right? We are pretty stacked at the wing position. But if Hart can play some backup 4, that does open up a gap off the bench for another wing scorer, right? If Deuce or if, Dante DiVincenzo gets injured, I do think that the bench is a little bit void of some scoring. But obviously you can always play Mikal Bridges or OG with the bench, or Randle with the bench as well. But I wouldn't mind one more shooter or scorer off the bench, because Dadiet is not that right now. Keita Bates-Diop is not really a shot creator either. The Knicks have been linked to a Landry Shamet in the past, and we've been linked to Davis Bertans as well. So what do you guys think about that? Jay says we don't need another wing shooter. We're good with that situation. Yep. Dirty Dancer says, I think they will hold on to the exception and get someone in the buyout. I think that would be a smart move as well. Yep. There'll be more names available. Maybe another center becomes available as well. But yeah, none of these guys are needle movers with that situation. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad if we did add a Luke Kennard, Landry Shamet, or Lonnie Walker. THT I'm okay on. Isaac Okoro, I don't think we need another guy that can't shoot. We've got enough defenders with that situation. Gordon Hayward, it's a big no for me. And Jay Crowder, big no. Marcus Morris, I'll be okay for that, a vet minimum. Jetty Osman, I wouldn't be mad at that either for a vet minimum guy. He could play the 3 and the 4. Well, he could play the 3. You could push Josh Hart to the 4 as well, although I know that's not ideal. Hart doesn't like playing the 4. And then things get interesting, guys. Obviously, after that, you got Robert Covington, Precious, our guy, Danilo Gallinari, and Davis Bertans. Right, so we don't just have a little hole at center. We do have a hole at power forward, in my opinion. The fact that Mike Scotto has reported that we have interest in Davis Bertans doesn't surprise me. Another 4 that can shoot it. Larry says Dougie McBuckets. Yep, Deuce ain't going anywhere, fam. The organization loves Deuce. So does Thibs. Yep. Pete says I don't want Cat. Cat rumor's dead. Buzzer says Mookie Morris played well for us in a few years back. Yeah, I could see him, though, choosing another team. I think he's had opportunities to come back to the Knicks, whether it's the Knicks weren't interested or him. But he always seemed to go to Philly. Then he went to Cleveland. So yeah, I don't think Mook Morris, is going to come back to the New York Knicks. I think there is real interest in Davis Bertans, so I wouldn't be mad at that. Although he doesn't give you any rebounding or defense, but he does give you that little bit more scoring. Much to most people's dismay, I can see the New York Knicks maybe getting Gordon Hayward on a vet minimum. Right, on a vet minimum, guys, I could see Gordon Hayward, because Thibs has been a long fan of him. He's past it now, but his depth, he could play the 3 and the 4 as well. So I think that there could be mutual interest in a Gordon Hayward. I haven't heard anything, but that just wouldn't surprise me, is all I'm saying on that one, guys. Who else? As we move to the center position now, slim pickings, right? JaVale McGee, Tristan Thompson, Bismack Biyombo, Boban, and then Omer Yurtseven. So he would be, I think, the best pickup for a vet minimum. Next up would be Bismack Biyombo. I could see that as a vet minimum. But here's what I would do. None of those guys really blow me away. So with that said, with Huck Porty and Skapensev, I think find a way to, bring Skapensev in. Re-sign Precious, if that's the case, so he can play 4 and 5. And then you've got Sims. You see what he looks like. He's got a partial guarantee. We can always cut him by the January deadline for the next guarantee. So we could see how Jericho looks this season as the primary, or compete for the backup with Precious. Precious probably the preferred backup. Sims behind him with Huck Porty and Skapinsev. I think that would be the Knicks' best route. Paula says Gordon Hayward's not the same player anymore. Yeah, absolutely, he isn't. But yeah, as a vet minimum guy who's just going to be on the end of the bench, I could see Thibs trying to go for that. Although Keita Bates-Diop, is here. Thibs is pretty high on him as well. So the fact that the Knicks suffered a lot of injuries could change our thinking in terms of steering clear of these injury-prone vets. Jabroni, anybody but Bertans. Yep, he can't play any D, but he can shoot it. Too. Richard says Bertans would be awful too. Yeah, you guys are unanimous pretty much with that. No Gordon Hayward, no Bertans too. Landry Shamet. Would you be interested in a Landry Shamet, fam? Luke Kennard. I think we're good at the wing spot. There's no doubt about it. I'm just looking at the bench and thinking, okay, to get that scoring up a little bit. But then you've still got Deuce and DiVincenzo. They could carry most of the scoring load. And if you pair OG or Randle with the bench, you're absolutely cooking. You're totally fine. With terms of scoring. I'm just looking at the third string guys, and none of them can really come in and give you a little bit of energy scoring. Right? Dadiet is not going to be that. Campaign. I don't want to rely on him for scoring. And then Bates-Diop and Jericho. They're not coming in and scoring for you as well. So, as the roster is right now, we're cool. But if there's one or two injuries to one of the key scorers, I wouldn't mind one more shooter off the bench, right? I wouldn't mind a Luke Kennard, and I wouldn't mind a Landry Shamet or a Lonnie Walker. I think obviously the Bogdanovic role could be something we could look at, because I don't think Dadiet is going to be that. Neither is Bates-Diop, right? So Cameron Payne, very undersized. He's the point guard. He could knock down the open three, but I don't think he's going to be a scorer for us off the bench. Jabroni says, I wanted Shamet instead of Payne, but now we don't have playing time in the wing positions. Yeah, I think we're good right now. I'm just thinking in case of an injury, potentially to one of the wings, but we could always address that at the trade deadline as well. Dorkasaurus says, why not Rokas? I think for a number of reasons. Rokas is wanting a bigger role, and also he's about to sign overseas. And I think we're good at the guard spots, really. He projects to be mostly a point guard in the NBA at that position. He can play the two, but when you've got Campaign and you've got Kolek now, it's a really big log jam. I think so. Yep. With that said, guys, keep buzzing, and I'm going to move to the next topic now, which is we heard word from Scott Perry, on that situation. Now I'm going to bring up the audio on this one, so sit tight. Here we go. Scott Perry, we all know his connections to the New York Knicks. And we all know his connections to the Detroit Pistons, right? In building a championship team in 2004, right? With that situation on the Hoops Genius pod, which he's a frequent guest, he spoke about some similarities between this Knicks team and the 2004 Pistons as well. Let's hear what he had to say.
This is a message to a lot of my New York folks, and especially some New Yorkers that are in the media. New Yorkers tend to love the big names, the star names. And I'm going to compare it a little bit. Team came together a little bit differently, but my time with the Detroit Pistons, I used to say this all the time. We were a very deep team, but we were devoid of, quote unquote, the known stars or the huge names in the sport. We put that team together. Chauncey Billups, we were his 16 when we signed him as a free agent. We traded for Rip Hamilton. We traded for Rasheed Wallace. We got Ben Wallace in the sign and trade for Grant Hill. And when that happened, people barely even knew Ben Wallace. But all those guys came together and became all-stars and developed into a legitimate championship team. This is a mess.
There we have it. Scott Perry spoke on it. I've spoke on it before as well. Although I do think the Knicks have probably more star power. So that argument that they don't really need that star power, I guess, is like it was with Detroit. But the Knicks do have more star power. And of course, they've got the defenders as well. So I think this is a perfect modernized version of the '04 Pistons, but a better version, right? Because you've got defenders and you've got plenty of scoring as well. Yes, you probably lack that Ben Wallace kind of, defensive player of the year, but we know Mitch is very close to that when fully healthy. And I think that is obviously the biggest hole. But in terms of the scoring prowess and the shooting off your bench, I think this is the more modernized version of '04 Pistons, right? But as the star of Jalen Brunson continues to rise, right, he could carry us to a title as a star, in my opinion. So that is Scott Perry and his thoughts. Buzzer says, full disclosure, Scott Perry was the GM for the '04 Pistons, but give the credit to Larry Brown. Yeah, top to bottom, I think, Dumars as well, from what I saw. But yeah, it just came together in the perfect instance. They were built for the matchup, right? The Lakers had all those stars, but if you're built to take another team down, then you can do it. You can succeed, right, in the right way. And I think we're built to take Boston down, right, in the best possible way as well. As we talked about my power rankings at the top of the show, welcome in everyone that's just joined us. Smash that like button, guys. We've got the Knicks streets buzzing. And I think, the New York Knicks are the big winners of free agency. We've climbed up to number 2 on my power rankings. And for all the other outlets, ESPN, CBS, The Athletic, New York Post, we went through them all. And the New York Knicks are no lower than 6. But we're coming in at top 4 on 4 of them. So we've made a huge climb, and definitely we're the biggest team on the rise. Right, I still think we're slightly better than the Thunder in terms of roster, and let's see how it plays out. But we're built to take down the Boston Celtics. But in terms of what Perry just said, I do think that the Knicks have more star power than that '04 Pistons squad. Is the '04 Pistons squad probably more physical, more dirty? Absolutely. More enforcers? Absolutely. We are a little bit more finesse with the scoring touch and the shooting. But with Mitchie and Randle fully healthy, we've got 2 bullies in the front court still. And, they'll rebound every single rebound together with Josh Hart and OG. So I don't think we're a weaker rebounding team than the Pistons if we're fully healthy. I think Mitch is one of the best rebounders in the game right now, and so is Juju. I do want to see OG, fight for those rebounds as well. If he does play the 4 or the 5, I'll be really watching OG Anunoby on the glass. But yeah, he's a very solid rebounder. But of course, Josh Hart, guys, he is the Worm 2.0 in terms of every coach's dream. And a guy who can play backup 4 as well. So, with that said, the next topic we're going to talk about tonight is the coach, the New York Knicks' own coach, Tom Thibodeau, as well. And we had some news come through from Mark Stein, right? Covers the league and has his own Substack. Now, I'm going to bring this up on the big screen as tweeted out by New York Basketball Twitter account on X. This is a few days back. There was a strong expectation at Summer League that a contract extension for Thibs is coming and will be announced in the near future, has been regarded for weeks as a lock to receive a new deal that pays at least 10 million annually. Excuse me. So, yeah, that is no surprise. I guess some people were still worried or waiting. We hadn't heard any news about it, but here we go. That's still very much, in the works, and I think that'll be deserved. Tom Thibodeau is going to get that extension, and it's going to be a big amount. But that doesn't really mean anything about your long-term security. We know in the NBA, anything can happen. Monty Williams was just re-signed and then fired. So whether you're excited by the thought of a longer tenured contract or of Thibs or not, I don't think as a coach in the modern NBA, I don't think it really matters how long your contract is, right? If you fall well below expectations, you can be let go. You can be let go at any time. But what this tells me is, like, obviously nothing's changed in terms of before, and he is in lockstep with Leon Rose, right? As the team is, in the best shape it's been in 2 decades since 1999. This is the best roster that Coach Thibs has ever had. But questions will remain. How does he use them? How does he adapt? Does he use its versatility to its full extent? Like the chat said earlier, I think it was Jay as well, or anyone else who said it as well. Shout out to you guys, salute. But how Thibs uses his roster is going to be, open for criticism, or he's going to be lauded. Some things I'm watching is I don't really want Josh Hart to play the 4 much. I know, it can give you an advantage, but ideally I want to keep Josh Hart healthy throughout the regular season. Guys, Hart is critical. His health, he's really important to this team, is Josh Hart. And him banging with the 4s all season, it's not going to be right. So bring Precious back, or if you don't, make sure you get a proper backup 4 and 5, obviously. The other thing I'm going to be really watching is obviously the point guard situation, right? Brunson had to go through the trenches to get this Knicks almost to the Eastern Conference Finals. So now we've got an embarrassment of riches at the point guard spot. Mikal Bridges can run some action with the bench as well. Dante on the bench. And then obviously Kolek and Payne. So how does Thibs adjust with Brunson's minutes, right? If it's a 7-point ball game, right, early in the 4th, does he keep Brunson on the bench that little bit longer so that he can be more fresh, right? Or if the Knicks are up by 13 points with 4 minutes left, right, does he have confidence in a Kolek or a Deuce or a Payne or a Bridges to close the show and let Brunson sit for the rest of the night? What are your thoughts on that, guys? Buzzer Beater with a super chat. Salute, Buzzer. Says, CT, who has the best bench right now, New York or Boston? New York. Absolutely, New York Knicks. I spoke on it a little bit more earlier, but I do think with the likes of DiVincenzo, Deuce, and Josh Hart, I think that is a bit better than Boston's bench, who are bringing in Peyton Pritchard. They're bringing in, they've got Hauser, and they've got the Al Horford, most likely, although he does start as well. They've got Luke Cornett, the big man there. I just think pound for pound, the New York Knicks bench is stronger. What are your thoughts? I think most of you will agree. Dirty Dancer says bench on Boston is pretty mid, right? Al will be worn out by the time Porzingis ends up coming back. Yeah, definitely. And they are really stretched money-wise too. So, it's not like they've got a whole heap of money to get in a better backup. Luke Cornett, they brought him back. Salute Jet Life. But yeah, thanks for the contribution, Buzzerbeat. A great question. I think pound for pound, the New York Knicks bench is probably better than anyone else's bench in the league. And then bench and starting unit combined, I think the Knicks are number 2 in my power rankings, right? still giving respect to Boston because they won the title, and you've got to beat the best to be the best. But, you know, I don't think we'll be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked at some point this season if the Knicks end up on someone's power rankings as the number one team. I know that might sound crazy. I haven't said that before, right? You know, obviously since 1999, I don't think we've had a squad this good. But on someone's power rankings, on some major outlet this year, I won't be surprised if the New York Knicks come in at number one on somebody's power rankings. But I do think it'll be the top 3, 4, 5 here jockeying. We'll see how good the Thunder get out, how good of a start. I do think people are overvaluing overrating the Caruso pickup. I think just because it was such a nice fit, but let's not act like Caruso some all-star. You know, he's a very solid role player, right? The Isaiah Hartenstein pickup, he'll look really good for them, but he's not going to be as valuable to them as he was for us, I feel. So I think his value was kind of a little bit more overblown with the New York Knicks. I think Dallas had a pretty solid off-season, but they've already kind of made their smart moves last deadline, getting PJ Washington, getting Gafford, getting Lively. Minnesota, I think they're still probably missing another go-to guy, in all honesty. You know, to win a championship, Rudy Gobert, Cat, Anthony Edwards. Is that good enough to beat Boston or Oklahoma? I think it's really a flip of a coin. Denver have definitely got weaker. I don't think, you know, this might start to be their decline. Losing KCP, that could just be the straw that breaks the camel's back, I think, with that situation. Buzzerbeater says, I really don't want to see Brunson playing more than 25 to 28 minutes. I understand your point, absolutely. I do think that he's going to play more than that. But yeah, to your point, regular season is regular season, and you know we don't really need to stress him out at all. I mean, he's the most important guy that you can't afford to lose, right? But we do have good depth now at the point guard situation. Hashtag New York 60 wins. Pete says, isn't it funny how the Knicks look better and more cohesive when Randle was out? Yeah, that's been talked about a lot. And, you know, we've had Coach Nick on our show, B-Ball Breakdown. A lot of people still feel that way. I feel like the Knicks can win with Randle and without Randle. I think there's arguments that the Knicks are very strong with and without him. You know, and all about the contract situation. But I do think the Knicks are stronger with Randle. I think the Knicks did miss some physicality in the postseason against Indiana. I think playoffs are all about matchups. I'm not so much worried about regular season this year, guys. I think however way we can achieve 55 wins, you know, I don't care if it's sitting guys or playing more guys than others. Just get 55 wins, make the second or third seed. But then when we get to the playoffs, it's all about matchups, right? Indiana ran us out of the gym, right? Up and down. We weren't healthy, obviously, and we've got more defenders now with Mikal Bridges. But I think Randle was missed in that Indiana series because from a physicality standpoint, Hart had to play the 4 too much. You know, he had to guard Siakam. And as we sit right now, we really don't have a good backup 4 either. So that's something that Leon Rose badly needs to address, in my opinion, guys. Now, next up, we're going to talk about a little bit about Team USA, right, guys? And shout you guys out. What are your thoughts heading into the Olympics now? No Brunson. We got Tyrese Halliburton, who has been relegated basically over the last 4 friendly games. He's now out of the rotation. So What are your thoughts, Buzzer Beater? I know you asked in the past about why didn't Brunson make the team? Well, Tyrese Halliburton, who made the team ahead of Brunson, is no longer getting minutes. Now, well, he'll probably get situational minutes, but right now he's out of the rotation after these friendly games. I do think Joel Embiid has looked like a liability. He just looks slow. Obviously he's a big paint presence, but I think USA has looked better with Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo, right? And just put LeBron at center. Even what LeBron did was crazy. It's very much a 3-point shooting game as well, but you can be a little bit more physical too. I'm looking forward to the Olympics, man. That kick off this weekend. It's going to be the best Olympics we've seen, I think, in my lifetime in terms of competitiveness. I do expect USA to win gold. They probably won't lose a game. If they do lose one game, it might be to Canada or it might be to Germany, but I can't really see anyone else. I don't see a repeat of the South Sudan situation, although shout out to them who had an incredible performance too. Obviously, if you can get hot, I think you can beat anyone. In terms of the debate going on pro Randle and arguments for moving Randle, I think a lot of people are looking at it off the past situations with those teams. But I do think, however the Knicks win, like I'm not drawn to players specifically in terms of when the Knicks finally win and the Knicks win that championship, right? I give every player a chance, and this season, right, nobody should have any excuse because with Randle, without Randle, we're good enough to win the championship. So that's where the Randle debate's kind of like it's more of a meh for me, because I think we're good enough to beat Boston with him. We're good enough to beat Boston without him. But I do think we're stronger as of the present day when Randle's healthy. Now, when it comes to the money and the business side of things, I get it. If, they can't come to an agreement, if, Leon Rose feels like there might be a better situation or a better scenario and he goes for it, then, I won't be mad. I won't be mad. I do think there's a lot of food for thought because, we have to beat the best to be the best. Mitchell Robinson, for most of his career has not been able to stay healthy. So if Leon Rose is kicking the tires on these trades and bigger deals, I won't be surprised if they expand because, all these aprons are messing people up. And Mitchie's only on $10 million. So, a Mitchie trade just by himself doesn't really make, is going to be difficult to make to get a really good starting center and an upgrade, right? The reason you might hear rumors about Mitch and Randle is because that opens the possibilities. It opens the salary up. And obviously Randle is yet to be extended. So until that happens, there is going to be more rumors surface and more of that talk, as well. Jay from Puerto Rico says USA is lucky that Yugoslavia broke up. That would be absolutely stacked. Also with soccer as well. Yugoslavia in soccer would be just soccer and basketball, absolutely loaded. But yeah, Serbia, I do think USA and Serbia will get out of that group, but South Sudan and Puerto Rico will really compete for that third spot if they can pick up a blowout win. So the best two teams from each group, from the three groups, advance, and then two of the third best teams out of the three groups will advance as well. So the other two groups, those other two teams might be Brazil or Japan. I do think Germany and France will get out of that group. And then Australia, Canada, Greece, and Spain, I think surely a third team from that group has to get through as well. That's going to be really, really interesting, guys. But just to wrap it up on the Thibs situation, I do think there is going to be a little bit more pressure on Thibs. Like, we can't lie. There is going to be more expectations. As we talked about the power rankings tonight, guys, and not just me putting the Knicks higher, most of these outlets. Now, the Knicks are going to come into this season with more pressure and expectation than there has been over the last decade. Probably since the Carmelo, Chandler, and the Jason Kidd year, the 2013, when the Knicks made the second round. I think this season will equal that in terms of expectation. I think maybe this season might be even slightly higher. But nonetheless, the Knicks have won the off-season for me, and the work is still yet to be done. The New York Knicks have a gaping hole at the backup center spot, the backup 4 spot as well. Precious Achiuwa holding tight. I think it's in his best interest, but respect to him, I think, for being patient, because obviously Precious could have just taken a deal elsewhere. So I do think that the likeliness is that he returns still. With the second most likely scenario is that we sign and trade him. I don't think he'll just turn his back on the Knicks now and just sign a deal somewhere for the sake of it. I think it's either going to be signed to return to the Knicks or signed with us for a good money, for a good bag, and then traded for another deal as well. But with that situation, Mitchell Robinson, there is concerns. He can't play 82 games, so when he's healthy, he's amazing. Defensively, Thibs loves his rebounding. But when it comes to sharing the load, we need a quality center as a backup who's, good enough to start games as well. Even if Precious was the one starting games, I would still have concerns. So Leon does have his work cut out still, and that's why you see these trade rumors being speculated about Jalen Duren. Clint Capella has also been linked to us, and then there's also the other ones previously with the bigger trades, looked out. But I would love us to keep Deuce McBride. The Knicks have the exception. Should we just wait for the deadline, like Dirty Dancer said? That would be an option. I think we would be able to ride out the storm. I do think Hukporty and Skapensev showed you signs that they could be, dependable third string, maybe back up in a pinch. With Hukporty, you want to see training camp. Obviously, you want to see pre-season as well. You want to see Jericho, see how he looks. I think coming into the off-season as well, but into training camp. But the Knicks have more bodies, so it could be a backup by committee. It could be backup, a platoon kind of look, guys. But again, the Olympics kick off this weekend. We'll continue our off-season coverage of the Knicks and all the latest going on. But New York Knicks surging up the rankings. For me, the second best team in the NBA. Your New York Knicks. Expectations are high. It's championship or bust for me this season, right? There's still positives you can take from a season, but we're built to win. Now, we're built to win it all, right? There's no doubt about it, right? The New York Knicks have one of the best rosters in the NBA, guys in their prime to contend. The bench, I think, is the best bench, I think, from 6, 7, and 8 positions out of any team. 2 or 3 guys that are capable of starting on any team in the league, right? How does Leon Rose put the final touches on it? We'll wait and see. But it was fun to recap Summer League as well. Saw some nice signs from Pacome Dadiet and what he can provide the New York Knicks in the future. As the Knicks finish 3-2, Summer League squad, shout out. We wish Rokas well. I don't think we'll see him with the Knicks, but we'll see. Never say never. I just don't think it's likely to. And obviously Thibs could get extended very soon, so look out for that news. Scott Perry feels like that the 04 Pistons are like the New York Knicks and vice versa. There's comparisons with that. as well. So it's been a great show, guys. Appreciate your thoughts, comments, questions. Apologies if I didn't get to everything, but we're going to wrap this one up, and we'll see you in another day or so, fam. Anything breaks live, I'll be on. Best believe that. Smash that like button. The Knicks streets are buzzing, and we'll see you soon, fam. Peace.